Morning, everyone. How are you this morning? What a gorgeous day here in Indiana, and I'm happy to be here. I left Washington early and glad to land more in the middle of the country. It's great. My name is Linda McMahon. I am the U.S. Secretary of Education, so I am very happy to be here this morning for really this kind of momentous occasion. It's an honor to announce a major step towards improving outcomes and expanding opportunity for Hoosier students. As you may have heard, President Trump told me I'd be successful in my job when I fired myself or worked myself out of a job. But his vision isn't about me or one position. It's about breaking up the education bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., a system that too often enriches adults while stifling progress for kids, and empowering states to drive a new era of excellence for students across the country. Over the past few months, I've visited over 39 states, spotlighting how innovation can flourish when decisions are made by leaders who know their students best at the local level. And Indiana demonstrates that clearly. In the aftermath of learning loss caused by COVID lockdowns, Indiana leaders refused to accept stagnation. So they launched Indiana Learns, a statewide grant program awarding eligible families up to $1,000 for high-dosage math and reading tutoring. Since the program's inception, it's provided over 25,000 grants and over 280,000 hours of tutoring to support students who need it most. Alongside bolstering support in the classroom, Indiana has also designed programs to help Hoosier students step up for the workforce. The Indiana Career Apprenticeship Pathways Program offers high school students multi-year apprenticeships that blend classroom instruction with real-world experience. By requiring that at least 50% of their training occur on the job, students can learn and earn while gaining credentials that prepare them for high-wage, in-demand employment. From cradle to career, Indiana has shown its commitment to students, and we want to give them the tools to accelerate that momentum. That's why today my team and I are proud to announce that we are rewarding Indiana a returning education to the state's waiver. Yes. That is really worthy of applause. This gives Indiana's education leaders greater control over their federal dollars by merging 5 funding streams into one, consolidating $50 million over the next 4 years, and allows them to invest more in proven strategy like literacy instruction grounded in the science of reading and evidence-based numeracy programs that are driving Indiana's impressive year-to-year gains on status. It also enables Indiana to place greater emphasis on college and career readiness metrics within its high school accountability system, strengthening the state's ability to meet its goals for academic excellence and talent development. And crucially, this waiver, and I think this is incredibly important, frees $20 million in state and local funds from bureaucratic red tape compliance paperwork and returns it to its rightful place in the classroom. Now, Indiana becomes the 3rd state, along Iowa and Louisiana, to take advantage of these substantial flexibilities. And I'd like to thank Governor Mike Braun, Secretary Katie Jenner, and the many other dedicated Hoosier leaders who have worked with us to expand ingenuity and elevate outcome for students. We must breathe innovation into education, not suffocate it with top-down mandates, because we certainly know that one size does not fit all in education. That's why the Trump administration is granting Indiana this flexibility, and we hope that as we partner with congressional leaders to return education to the states, we can work with them to expand these opportunities for states and local leaders so that they can run their education systems. From building the first gasoline-powered automobile to devising iconic Coca-Cola bottle, Hoosier ingenuity has always inspired the nation. And I just had a grandson graduate from IU this year, so I'm especially proud of Hoosiers. And now it's your turn to carry that tradition forward. When you design solutions for students, the Trump administration stands ready to help you succeed. Thank you, Indiana, and congratulations for this momentous achievement. Thank you all.
Well, good morning. I am so thankful for each one of you here today. Today is an important day for Indiana educators, parents, and families, and the 1.13 million students that we serve. As states, we have significant control over education in that we set the standards, we can choose our curriculum, we can design our assessments, but when it comes to federal funding, our hands have always been tied until now. The approval of Indiana's flexibility waiver is a major step forward in bringing education decisions, including decisions that directly reflect our students' needs, back home to Indiana. First, I want to thank Secretary McMahon and your entire team. This all started nationwide with two simple questions. What barriers are in your way as states to best serve and impact students? And what do you need from us to remove them? So when you asked that, we immediately got to work. We're like, boy, do we have some ideas for you. These questions have guided this process every step of the way. And the team at the United States Department of Education have been true partners, thoughtful, responsive, and committed to allowing the state of Indiana to lead. I also want to thank Governor Mike Braun, whose leadership and strong support of education have allowed us to move quickly. In fact, you often are like, come on, keep going, and stay very focused on what matters most, doing better for our students and therefore better for Indiana. So thank you, Governor, for the faith you continue to put in all of us to drive real results. What truly makes Indiana special is our people. And many are in the room today, and Secretary McMahon, we have thousands of others that we could have brought in. It is summertime though, so we selected a smaller number, but from our educators, the school leaders, school counselors, parents and families, the employer community, our business and industry leaders, some who are here, community partners who have not only raised their hand to be a part of the solution, but Indiana is so unique. Talk to other states. These folks have really put their arms in, all in, to really help contribute to the. In every corner of our state, we have change agents who refuse to accept the status. We actually call each other out if we're accepting the status quo. We are pushing hard. These folks innovate in big ways, in small ways. They relentlessly remove barriers for students, and they create real opportunities for growth and learning. The approval of Indiana's federal waiver is a testament to their proven work, and it gives our local change agents an even more flexible opportunity to do what we do best, which is serve our students. This waiver allows Indiana to streamline federal requirements, reduce unnecessary red tape, put more resources directly into our classrooms where they make the greatest difference. It also allows us to consolidate small, restrictive funding streams so districts can focus on students instead of paperwork. And it makes our school accountability model consistent for the first time, state and federal as one aligned model that increases transparency for parents and helps our schools focus on what matters most, our students. At the heart of all of this, there is a simple, urgent belief. We must focus our time and energy on the work that propels us forward. We work to serve students, not to serve bureaucratic, outdated processes and paperwork. Students. Let me be clear. As a nation, we have so much potential, and we must urgently be bold, courageous, and unapologetic when it comes to overhauling outdated systems in order to improve education for future generations. And I thank you for allowing us to lead on that as a state. So now Now is our chance to do some things differently. And in Indiana, we are committed to being highly transparent about what is working, and we will not shy away from pivoting, adjusting if it means continuing to improve for students. Today is a win for Indiana, but in so many ways, it's just the beginning of the shared work ahead. We will absolutely keep pushing. We will absolutely keep improving. And we will absolutely keep our foot firmly on the gas pedal for students. And you know we can drive very fast in Indiana, especially at the racetrack. So again, to Secretary McMahon, to Governor Braun, to every educator, parent, and change agent across Indiana, thank you. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for everything you do for Indiana students. Let's keep working together and let's keep this momentum going. Thank you.
So when I decided to leave the Senate and come back to Indiana, it was done from the context of being an entrepreneur, knowing what you can get done in the real world, and knowing in those 6 years I spent there on health, education, labor, and pensions. I love it when the Secretary of Education says she wants to put herself out of a job. I mean, about 30% of that place needs to do that, because the disappointing thing to me is when you want to do so much and you're not getting the results done. And the founders never intended education to be the bailiwick of the federal government. And look how it's evolved over time. From when it got started, I think back in the Carter administration, that to me looked like a money trap, and it was going to take away the flexibility of the 50 states that obviously do things better. And when you look at the federal government missing its mark by 30% year after year after year on what generally takes you down in any business is if you're not paying your bills and you're that dumb that you got to borrow from future generations to live in the present, obviously something needs to give. When I did decide to come back, this is kind of what I envisioned. I restructured our state government because it was a sprawling enterprise, 70 agencies, none of the good ideas getting from the bottom up. How a governor and a chief of staff over the last 20 years could have done the things that needed to be done in a dynamic way. I didn't understand it, didn't see it, made that correction. And when you have the pleasure of dealing with two dynamos, and Katie from the prior administration, I changed it into a government that's going to have entrepreneurial leadership in each of those policy silos. And when K through 12 is half of your budget of $23 billion, you better be getting that right. So I want to thank the Secretary, McMahon. You're working in a dynamic administration. When I left there, I knew there would be that connection, not only in education. We're a drone corridor, one of two states, us and Oklahoma. We're going to be one of 5 states that's going to get the Department of Agriculture back where it needs to be, closer to where you grow and raise things. It's, to me, all part of what needs to be done if we're going to hand over to our kids and grandkids something better than what we've already got. Indiana's kind of always had that spirit. Clearly, I've said parents should be in charge of their own kids' education. They should have plenty of choice. None of us should embrace monopolies, which is what public education has been over time. That's going to keep kids and families stranded. Why you wouldn't want alternatives when the status quo has not been working, that puzzles me. Returning this through the waiver for enterprising states, my only disappointment is that we weren't first, but I understand we're doing it with more totality as third, and I hope the other states follow quickly. Instead of keeping federal funding streams separated, this will combine it. It was referred to the amount of money we're going to save on just getting rid of red tape. It also gives Indiana more room to do what I could see when I was on our school board. one of the best public school systems in the state, had dismantled CTE. And being in the lowest unemployment town and county in the state generally, and when we misguide kids and miss the mark by 50% into a college pursuit, when half of them don't make it to the finish line, we have really been not doing it well. Putting the diploma system in place that recognizes careers, skills, and aligns that with a college education. How did it take this long to get there? If our kids are going to come back to our state and the homes and the cities, the towns they were raised in, you got to make sure on the most important part of it, we're getting that correct. If we do that, we are going to be attracting business like we currently are. Indiana's got more good news. In a year and a half, we're doubling the GDP growth of our neighbor to the west and to the east. 3 times as fast as Kentucky's, 6 times as fast as Michigan's. Says a lot. It's part of what government can be about when it's entrepreneurial and it doesn't spend more than it takes in, and it actually does things like in the real world. Productivity is called doing more with less. We're embracing that. You can see it on display. Look at some of the things that have been done in a short period of time. We saw a 5% percentage point increase in 3rd grade literacy rates in 1 year, largest in Indiana history. We rose to 6th in the nation in reading, saw the highest graduation rate on record. Thank you, Katie. And just like running a business, the easy part's keeping your overhead low. Hard part is finding new revenues, how you find new ways to do things that differentiate you from the other 49. And when we raised starting salaries for teachers by $5,000 and passed a law where 65% of tuition support has to be based upon teacher pay, not bureaucracy, not overhead, you can see why we're setting the pathway, I think, for many places, including education. And today, I'm especially grateful to Secretary McMahon for here to help us celebrate this. And to you, Katie Jenner, keep doing it. We're only just beginning. Thank you so much.
So we are now going to highlight several of Indiana's excellent schools, and that will take place right around the corner. We have Andy Allen, Superintendent of Plainfield Schools, who's going to share a little bit. George Philhauer, Superintendent of Eastern Hancock. Tara Bishop, Superintendent of Perry Central. So you'll get a little taste of all over Indiana and some of the great work happening. And you're gonna tell about the media scrum. So I'm gonna pass the mic.
Right before we do that, we'll open it up to a few Q&A. Secretary McMahon and the governor are here to answer a few questions. Sign the waiver document over here. So who's first?
Madam Secretary, can you detail, good morning and welcome to Indiana. Can you detail exactly what the state's getting back by this, as you call, momentous decision?
Well,
Can
there,
you speak from the mic? Thank you, ma'am.
surely.
Thank you.
Unaccustomed as I am from speaking from the mic. I think basically, the governor and Katie have really outlined it. You're going to get money, more money to keep here because it is the funding streams that are already coming into Indiana. So that's not changed, but the consolidation of those funding streams, 5 different funding streams that are coming in. Katie, working with the governor and her staff and whatever, are going to say, okay, let's now combine those. It's almost like a block grant coming into the state. Where can we spend this money best? We don't have to spend it over here as where we might have to spend that stream if it were left alone. We can spend it someplace else so we can consolidate. And by not having to comply with all of the regulatory paperwork, about $20 million more will be available in the state to spend how they see it can be better used.
Secretary, there's been criticisms that this kind of move will prevent those kids from getting what they need. How do we make sure that doesn't happen and kids won't slip through the
I think Katie can speak to that better, but just let me be very specific. Nothing happens that's not in compliance with the law. All Title I funding is the same for whatever measures, that we're going to, that's not, really being impacted here at all. When we talk about children, with disabilities, all IDEA funding is the same. That is by law, it's in statute. It's just how the states now are going to take those streams that are already approved and how they're going to spend them better and more efficiently. Would you like to?
Yeah, sure. I'm glad you asked that because that has been a myth we've heard nationally. Our funding formulas, as the secretary was sharing, direct a certain number of dollars per student to every school. That money will continue to flow to our schools. What the average person doesn't realize is our students are each very unique. Some of them have funding serving them from Title I. Some of them also have, our EL students. Some of them also maybe special education students. But the bottom line is we have one chief goal, and that's to make sure that child can read. That child is proficient in math. That child has the best access to high school opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. And so now our local school superintendents and leaders can really take that funding and rather than filling out multiple different grants of paperwork saying, I want this child to read. Well, obviously, yes, we do. But now the money will specifically be able to be deployed exactly how they need it in a timely manner. And again, the goal is to reduce some of the bureaucracy paperwork that our locals spend hours on. You're welcome to ask some of them that. It's really remarkable how much time we spend on some of the required paperwork versus spending it on kids and directly impacting them.
What streams are getting consolidated and how the state of Indiana plans to use this money. And Secretary McMahon, if you want to jump in on that.
Holly, can you do that?
Yeah, there are several. So do you have that exact list? Great. They just gave us permission this morning, so let's find out. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Kirsten Baszler, the Assistant Secretary of the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education. So the streams that will be consolidated are Title 1B, Title 2A, Title 3A, Title 4A, and Title 4B. And so I guess I would just speak to the initial question as well. As we have concerns about, as concerns were shared about, oh, I'll use my teacher voice. 30 plus, there we go.
Somebody's
Just
mic is going to have a
walking
lot.
disaster.
There we go.
So the intent of the funding streams that were dedicated to each of those areas that I just cited, those efforts and those activities are still going to be required. What is eliminated is the separation of the reporting and the additional paperwork that goes along with reporting each of those. And it can be consolidated in a much more efficient and effective, streamlined manner. But the intent and uses of each of those fundings as they were intended by Congress, as Secretary McMahon stated so clearly, is everything is within the law and within the intent of Congress as we work with them.
The total amount of money, $50 million, is that what we're talking about?
Yes, the total amount is $50 million be consolidated in all of those funds that I just cited, and then the savings for the paperwork reduction from local and state tax or state dollars is $20 million.
Is that 70 or?
So 50 million that can be consolidated in federal sources, $20 million that will be saved and redirected back into the classroom of state and local dollars.
And let me just add one thing to the accountability provision for this is that a monthly report must be filed by October 30th, stating how the money was spent, what the progress was with the money that was spent.
So we're talking a lot about funding. The other really big piece that we're proud of in Indiana is our accountability model, which we worked hard to get past. Many of our state board members here, many of our local school allies and parents are here. The federal waiver also allows us to have one shared high school accountability model where, for years and years and years, the test score was the chief story, if you will. In Indiana, that's the SAT. That is important. We want to know the proficiency of all of our students. It's part of the story, though. The other part of the story is all of our students leaving with work-based learning and credentials of value that matter, the skills that matter. So the federal government has allowed us flexibility to really prioritize what our stakeholders, what Hoosiers say matter the most in our accountability model. And it's for Hoosiers, designed by Hoosiers.
Secretary McMahon, why Indiana?
You better answer this well, Secretary.
Because they're great at what they do. And and the bottom line is they asked for it. It was available, but it was a lot of hard work to get there. When you have an innovative the Secretary of Education within your state or Superintendent of Education within your state who continually looks to maximize all of the dollars that are coming into the state for education for their students. And Katie's done that, and Governor Braun has been so supportive with it as well. So they asked for it, they provided all the proper documentation, satisfied the obligations, and we said, yay. And we're here to officially and ceremoniously sign the document, which quite frankly, we have already signed, but we're gonna sign it for ceremonial purposes today because it's that important to, to create this excitement and this focus within the state. I hope more states will sign up. As the governor mentioned, Louisiana and Iowa signed up. Iowa has recognized about $8 million in savings. Louisiana has said they will probably exceed a little more than 10 million. So Indiana is topping all of those with about 20 million in savings. So, go Hoosiers. All right.
Done.